Welcome to Local is Lekker, where we look for local businesses with a lekker story. And today we are at Waterfield Farm in Assegai, where John Chelius has been farming for nearly 17 years. John is a vegetable and lettuce farmer, and he supplies Pick n Pay and Checkers and Spar with fresh lettuce. And unlike most businesses that I'm used to, that warehouse over there is not full of stock. The stock is here out in the fields, and every morning they pick the orders for delivery on the same day. There's a big packing shed behind us where they process the vegetables and pack everything. A very exciting business, and John is going to take us through his farm and through the pack shed, and I'm sure it'll be an interesting tour.
Morning everybody, my name is John and I'm the owner here at Waterfield Farm in Assegai, and I'd like to welcome you all here, and I'd like to show you guys around. And I think we can start with maybe the hydroponics and then maybe go through to the pack house a little bit later and just show you what we're all about. The farm is just short of 10 hectares in total. About 3 of those hectares are under hydroponic gravel beds, and the balance is the pack house. There's 2 farmhouses on the farm. We've got small sections of soil that we've converted gradually from which were previously not used for growing vegetables. I've been farming here for 17 years. I think the farm itself was established in about 2000, so it's about 20 years now. So just to explain, this is the very start of the process. Obviously all farming starts with seed. The seed that we use predominantly is actually imported from either Japan or Holland. Holland is a very big producer of plant seeds. This is what we end up planting, which is a pelleted seed, and it's actually coated with a nutrient pellet. If I broke this one open, and that is the actual seed inside, and that's where it all starts. So that is what we end up planting in our nursery. Okay, so this is the nursery. We predominantly grow our own lettuce plants. We plant 40,000 lettuce a week. The table celery we buy in from a commercial nursery, because it's just a slightly more difficult seedling to grow. You'll see there's quite a wide variety of plants in here, and as I said to you, we need that full variety so that we can make up the salads that you enjoy at home. I showed you earlier the seed. So basically we're planting the seed into these seedling trays. A tray has 200 plants in it. And you can see that's green KwaZulu-Natal, and it takes about 4 weeks from when we plant through to when we are ready to pull the plugs or the seedlings. And the seedling looks basically like that. You can see you want quite a strong root base, and these stragglers here are actually coming out of the bottom of the tray, and that's when you want to be pulling them. You don't want the plant's roots going out into the air at the bottom, because roots don't like air, or they don't like a lot of air, they get burnt off. So it's actually more important to have a strong root plug than it is to have a beautiful green leafy seedling, because those seedlings are quite often quite weak, and as long as they've got a strong root they can recover. But if they're weak on the bottom and strong on the top, when you transplant them they really struggle in the environment, because obviously the environment that they're going to be put into from here is a lot more difficult for them to grow in than it was in this very cozy little nursery. Alright, just to give you an idea of some of the seedlings that we grow, bearing in mind these are all going into the same salads essentially. This is English spinach or baby spinach. This is a green KwaZulu lettuce. This is a red butter lettuce. This is a green oak leaf, and then this is a green butter. Some of them will be sold as heads. You'll have seen in your own retail stores that you can buy a butter lettuce head or a KwaZulu lettuce head. So that's essentially the whole plant in a plastic bag. But most of this will be cut up, and the leaves will be sold as pillar packs, washed and ready to eat salads. I think there's about 15 different varieties of lettuce that we grow for our pillar pack salads, which we supply to Spar, Shoprite Checkers, Pick n Pay and Nando's. One of my favorite crops to grow though is table celery, and I just want to show you some table celery here growing in the gravel hydroponics beds. So this is the bed. It's a 50-meter long plastic lined bed. The idea is that it runs at a 2-degree slope, which basically allows the water to flow down the bottom of the plastic. There's a fertilizer solution in the water, which obviously feeds the plants. And you'll see that there's gravel in these beds, which is basically what the plant supports itself on while it's growing. So the gravel is an inert medium which just supports the plant and allows it to stabilize itself, but the food is actually in the water. So this is table celery. It's been in here for about 2 or 3 weeks. You can see I'm going to take it out of the bed because I can easily put it back in. But you can see we start with a plug or a seedling, which is very much similar to what you would buy from a commercial nursery. The roots then have got to obviously be in the water, and like I said, they're just supporting themselves on the gravel, and the water you can see is trickling in here at the top of the bed. It runs down the bed, and then at the bottom of the bed there's actually a little drain pipe which drains into a sump, and from the sump it gets pumped back up to the original tank, and it's a closed circuit reticulation system. Alright, this is table celery as well. It's been in here for about 8 weeks. So the first one that I showed you was about 2 weeks old. This has been here for about 8 weeks. You can see how quickly it grows. Particularly in the winter months, it's very happy in these gravel beds, and we get a lot of good growth out of them. It's probably about 2 weeks away from harvest, or maybe 3 because it's been quite cold lately, and obviously that affects the rate of growth that we get. So just to explain what you're looking at here, we harvested this morning the table celery. We base our harvest entirely on what our orders are from the retailers, and obviously there's quite a lot of time pressure on your harvest to delivery. So we really just keep it to what we have orders for. This celery is ready to be harvested and will be harvested tomorrow. You can see here the ladies have come through and harvested, and that's the root mass that's left behind. When you think of that small plug that I showed you earlier, the small seedling, and the amount of roots that have grown in essentially 9 weeks in these gravel beds is quite phenomenal. And then that's the table celery that we'll be harvesting tomorrow. One of our primary products, or one of our major products that we produce here, is a salad that you would basically eat at home. A prepared salad, so washed and ready to eat. So a lot of the lettuce that we grow is not your traditional iceberg lettuce head. It's actually a leafy, the leafy varieties that we can then cut in the pack house and mix into the salads that we produce. So this is a variety that we grow. It's actually called a green oak because the leaf, and I'll take one out just to show you. So there you can see, as I showed you earlier, the roots supporting themselves on the gravel. Obviously they're very happy to have the water at their base. It's quite easy for them because they don't have to work very hard to go and find their food. The food is essentially delivered to them on the plastic bed. So you can see just to my left here, we harvested this morning a similar crop. So the ladies come in and they just chop it at the base, and then what you end up having, I'll break this one just to show you. What you end up having then is a number of different leaves that you can then put into your salad. So this will go into a salad that you would buy at one of your local retail stores, obviously mixed with a variety of other lettuce. Just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I don't come from a farming background at all. I grew up in Johannesburg. My brother and sister both studied accounting, and I was just never very into office work. I always loved farms. I always wanted to be a farmer, and I must admit, in a lot of ways this is a dream come true for me. So I'm very excited to show you guys around. One of the things I really love about farming, and vegetable farming in particular, is that it's a little bit like golf. You always believe that the next season or the next golf swing is going to be your best one, and you never actually perfect what you're doing. So you're always challenged by it, and you're always playing around with ideas and trying something new, trying a new variety, trying a new way of growing something, playing around with harvesting dates, planting dates, irrigation cycles. There's just an endless number of things that you can experiment with. So at any one time I've probably got about 15 different little side projects that I've got going on to try and find a different way of doing that. And after 17 years I can honestly say I've learned a lot, but there's still an endless amount of learning to be done. So what we're playing around with here is basically making compost out of our vegetable offcuts and stable scrapings or horse manure. And then what I'm using that for, if you just look across here, is I'm putting that into bags and growing the lettuce, the spinach. We've trialed a little bit of cauliflower and broccoli in these bags using basically our waste material as the growing medium. And you can see so far we've played around with a whole lot of different varieties. Some varieties like it, some varieties don't. I think we're honing in on what really works in the compost as opposed to in the gravel beds. And obviously we've got land here that we can roll this out once we've sort of settled on a way of doing it and which varieties work and which don't. One of my almost hobbies, although it is part of the business, is a herd of cattle that I've got. They're Bonsmaras up on the Mooi River farm. So the truck goes up 3 to 4 times a week to collect vegetables. On that same truck we send vegetable waste, which is then used to feed the cattle. And I must say it's a real treat for them. They literally come running across the fields when they see the truck coming. With their off-cut butternuts and cabbage and lettuce leaves. They love it. Okay, we've had a quick change of clothes now because we're in the pack house. And a modern farmer has to wear many different hats, as you can see. So this is the packaging room. Obviously it's all the different packs are for Spar, Checkers, there's Pick and Pay here somewhere, of the pillar pack salads, the soup mixes and that sort of thing that we prepare. And then if you come across here, some of the product just goes into a clear bag or a punnet with labels, so there's quite a wide variety of labels as well. Some of it's in tubs, plastic tubs. And the job in here basically is going through the order for the day and then preparing all of the packaging that will be used for the day's pack. Alright, if you come through here, you'll have to go through the foot dip. The pack house is essentially, it's a 1200 square meter pack house. It's divided into 2 different divisions. What I'm standing in now is considered standard care, so it's where we do all of the preparation work and the packing of the wrapped and sealed products. So you'll see on my right here, it's very much all about the lettuce. So the lettuce is coming in the crates from the farm. The ladies here are preparing. There's a huge amount of waste on lettuce, particularly the outside leaves are always damaged. It's just the way that they grow. So we essentially take the leaves that we can use and then we run them through the jacuzzi wash. This is a jacuzzi wash for the lettuce. So it's prepared outside in the standard care area. These are the lettuce leaves that we will ultimately put through into the salads, and it just needs to be swirled to make sure that there's no foreign objects like sand or anything like that left on the salads. So it's actually been through 2 wash stations before this, and this is the final wash before it goes through onto the vibrating plate and through into the high care section. And then earlier on the farm I showed you the table celery. This is the table celery that we harvested this morning, being prepared for today's delivery. The outside stalks are used for the soup packs and sometimes for celery fingers, which you'll also buy in a retail store, and then the rest are put into sleeves and sold as is. Alright, so this side is still standard care. You can see here, for example, is a soup pack that you would buy, a standard soup pack that you would buy at a Pick and Pay or a Spar store. These are spring onions grown on the farm. You can see they're going into the Spar spring onion packs, and that'll get delivered to the Spar distribution centre later this morning. There's quite a lot of preparation work that goes on in here. So it's just taking the outside peels of, for example, an onion off. The carrots get peeled here. There's a lot of washing. So essentially we don't want anything, any dirt or any chance of microbial cross-contamination going through into the high cap section of the pack house, which I'll show you now. Alright, so this is the high care facility of the pack house. You'll notice that everybody inside here is dressed in red, the buckets are red, the chopping boards are red, the knives are red. So we have a clear division of staff and equipment in terms of the standard care facility and the high care facility. They're just going to wave at you all. I think they're quite excited to see the camera. So just to explain how this works, if you scan to the left here, just past this lady who's working with the cabbage, you can see the jacuzzi wash that I showed you earlier. It drops into those baskets. There's 2 spin dryers, that's the lettuce that comes through into high care. It's then packed onto the tables, mixed on the tables. We do quite a lot of manual mixing and then manual packing into tubs and bags. What you're showing now is a prepared vegetable mix for Spar that will go to Spar distribution centre this morning. Further to the right, you can see the lady with a big knife dicing pumpkin. We do a lot of diced pumpkin, butternut, and sweet potato. You'll notice also that it's quite a manual process. There are much more mechanized ways of doing what we do. We could bring in a lot more machinery and move away from it being such a manual process, but most of the staff that work here have worked here for a number of years. I think more than half of the staff, we employ 120 people, more than half of those people have worked here for 5 years. A lot of them have worked for 10 years and some of them even for 15 years. And I think that there is an obligation to preserve jobs, to protect people's income, and I think it's almost a little bit of a contract between the company and the staff to understand that we have an important role to play in their lives and in their community, and vice versa. Obviously without them we don't have a business. Just to the left here you can see we do quite a lot of coleslaw. So the lady's shredding cabbage for the coleslaw. We go through about 80 bags a week of cabbage making the coleslaw. And then in terms of butternut, we go through about 8 tons of butternut a week for the various diced and sliced lines, and obviously the prepared vegetable mixes. Again, this is another area of the pack house that we can't really go into without having to virtually change all of our clothes. So we'll just show you through the window. But this is the product that's come through from high care. It's packed into its end packs in high care, and then it comes through here for sealing and compiling and formatting for today's order. Right, this is the dispatch chiller. This is where the final product is brought to and held prior to dispatch for delivery. You'll see on my left here there's 2 doors, and the truck backs straight up onto these doors. The product is put straight through into the truck. They haven't loaded that, those are empty crates. And then the important thing to remember is that once the product is chilled, you need to maintain that cold chain. So the high care facility, which I showed you earlier, is a drop temperature zone that runs at about 12 degrees. I actually think I can see the camera lens starting to fog up as I talk. And then this is obviously a chilled area, so this is normally held at about 5 degrees, and the trucks are at 5 degrees. So once the product is chilled, you can't then allow it to go back up to room temperature, because there's a huge amount of condensation in those bags, and that's not good for the freshness and the quality of the product. On the left there's a whole lot of salads that will be going to Spar distribution centre, and then from there distributed throughout KZN. So this is the admin office on the farm. But basically this is where obviously all the invoicing gets done. There's a huge amount of work that goes into every payroll. We pay our staff every 2 weeks, so that's quite a huge amount of work. And then obviously it's just a standard sort of admin type function of any business. It's quite strange the way things happen in your life. Sometimes you question why something didn't work out the way it worked out. I tried to buy this farm about 3 years before I did eventually buy it, and I was beaten to the line by a guy who had the cash available, and he was able to put together a cash deal. He then bought the top portion of the farm, or what is now the top portion of the farm, which was at that stage a horse riding school, and converted it into also hydroponic gravel beds. And in a lot of ways, when I did buy it from him 3 years later, because he'd not been able to make a success of the project, it was a much more viable unit. And so for 3 years I kicked myself and thought, well, I've missed this golden opportunity to buy what is essentially a farm very close to where I live in Kloof. You know, this sort of opportunity doesn't come available to someone like me very often. But in a lot of ways it actually worked out. I probably was more ready for it 3 years later, and because the guy had spent quite a lot of money and upgraded things, I was able to walk into a much better situation. The main product range that we supply is prepared vegetables. So we don't generally just pick something, wrap it and send it. We grow quite a wide range of vegetables. So I've shown you the table celery, the lettuce, spring onions that we grow here, baby spinach, a whole range of herbs. I've also got a farm up in Moore River where we grow cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, beetroot, leeks, turnips, all those sort of things. It's a very different climate up there, and because of the different altitude and the different heat units up there, we're able to grow things there that we wouldn't be able to grow here, and vice versa. I think for Spa we supply about 60 different products on a daily basis. Shoprite Checkers is about 15 different products. Pick and Pay is somewhere between 5 and 8 different products, and then for Nando's we supply their full range of fresh produce, including things like lemons and mint. This is just a small display to give you an idea of the sort of products that we end up producing. On my left here we've got the spring onions that you saw growing earlier on the farm as they're ready to go to Spa this morning. This is table celery, which you saw where they had harvested, so that was literally picked this morning. The baby spinach was being picked when we went outside earlier. That's for Shoprite Checkers. And then there's a range of salads that we do for the retailers. Butter lettuce, crisp lettuce, rocket, mixed leaf salads. We do baby leaf salads. We do, like I said, about 50% of our business is salads, and then the balance of it is prepared vegetable products. So these are obviously the hard veg that you would take home then and roast or cook. So again, Shoprite Checkers, Asian slaw, the stir fry mixes for Spa and Shoprite Checkers, and then just a range of prepared vegetables. And then we do a lot of diced and chips on butternut, pumpkin and sweet potato. So that just gives you an idea of the sort of range that we produce. Alright, so that's the end of the tour. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for joining us. We're very proud of what we do here, and we hope that you enjoy the products that you've seen that we produce. You can follow us if you'd like to on our Facebook page, Waterfield Farm, and we also have a website, waterfield.co.za. Thank you.